It's your man, Nick Cannon. I'm here to bring you my new podcast, Nick Cannon at Night. Every week, I'm bringing out some of my celebrity friends and the best experts in the business to answer your most intimate relationship questions. So don't be shy. Join the conversation and head over to YouTube to watch Nick Cannon at Night or subscribe on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. I've got a great episode for you because today's episode is about a story that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood screenplay, but it is all real. It's the story behind the new 3-part Amazon Prime docuseries. It's called Cocaine Quarterback, Signal Caller for the Cartel, a true crime saga about the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of one man who thought he could outsmart the system and nearly did. Every downfall starts with a dream. And for Owen Hansen, that dream began in Redondo Beach, California. He was the all-American kid, talented, ambitious, and obsessed with winning. Volleyball was his first love, and it earned him offers from major universities, including USC. But when he couldn't crack the starting lineup, he turned to a different kind of performance enhancer. Desperate to compete, he began smuggling steroids from Tijuana, trying to build his body into the one he believed he needed to succeed. That hunger, that unwillingness to settle, became the defining thread of his life. In 2004, he tried out for the USC football team, and in a moment of grit and audacity, he made it. The only walk-on that year to land a spot. And by 2005, he was a backup quarterback on the team that won the national championship against Oklahoma. He wasn't the star, but he was the hustler. The guy who could connect you with whatever you needed, painkillers, steroids, party drugs. He built a reputation as the man who could make things happen on and off the field. And when college ended, the lights dimmed. He went home to Redondo Beach, back under his father's roof, chasing something that would make him feel like a winner again. He tried real estate, but the 2008 financial crash wiped him out. So he built something else, a high-stakes sports betting operation called BetOdog.com, serving professional athletes, Hollywood insiders, and anyone addicted to risk. And that's when the cartel came calling. The cartel, one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world, saw in him what so many others had seen: charm, intelligence, and an uncanny ability to move through elite circles. So they recruited him. And suddenly the kid from Redondo Beach was flying across oceans, trafficking cocaine to Australia, and laundering millions through shell companies and secret accounts. And for a while, it worked. He lived like the star he'd always wanted to be: wealth, status, power, but it was all built on an illusion. A botched laundering scheme lost the cartel millions, and a feud with a gambler who would later turn an FBI informant led to threats, violence, and the unraveling of his empire. In 2015, the FBI caught up with him on a California golf course. By 2017, Owen was sentenced to more than 21 years in federal prison for racketeering, drug trafficking, and money laundering. The quarterback had finally been sacked by his own ambition. But the story didn't end there. In 2024, under what the court described as extraordinary and compelling reasons, he was released early after serving just 9 years. Reports suggest cooperation with international investigators, particularly in Australia, played a part in his freedom. Today, he lives once again in Los Angeles, and he's launched a new company, California Ice, a protein popsicle brand, he says, that was born from a recipe he created behind bars. And now his story, from athlete to outlaw to would-be redemption, has been captured in one of the most compelling true crime series of the year. This is produced by Mark Wahlberg's Unrealistic Ideas, and it's directed by Jody McVeigh Schultz. Cocaine Quarterback, Signal Caller for the Cartel, takes us deep into Owen Hansen's transformation through interviews, FBI footage, and the voices of those who knew him best. And the greatest part? I've got the director here with me today to talk about this most unbelievable story. Here's my interview with the director, Jody. Jody, I am pumped to talk to you about this one. This one was something I didn't expect, and I started watching and I got completely hooked into it. So first of all, welcome back to the show and great job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Cocaine Quarterback. It's, I will say, if I've done a bunch of different types of projects. I've done true crime. I've even done scripted comedy. I've done sports. But like the thing I just come back to over and over again is like, is it so absurd that I'm like, there's no way this is real?
Yeah.
And that, like when I first started talking to Owen, the main character, he was in federal prison.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking for 20 minutes at a time on a prison phone. And he just laid it all out. And it was like, I cannot believe, like there's stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor, even because we didn't have time for it, that I'm like, I cannot believe this craziness that you've lived. And it, you know, not only was his story crazy, but the people that he surrounded himself with were just so larger than life. You know, I compare it sometimes to like the world of like a Coen Brothers film, because it's like people who were not very good at being criminals, like really going for it.
Yeah.
And trying to sort of like, you know, scheme their way into money. And it goes really badly for a lot of them.
Well, I guess the first thing I'm wondering, so you start talking to him on the phone and then we see him in prison. How long was the process of filming him before, like, what's the timeline? Like he's released, and how long did this whole take?
So we started talking to him. I mean, it takes a while. We started talking to him, I want to say like 9 months before he was released.
Okay.
And like really lucky that happened, that he was released like in the production window.
Without question.
Yeah. I mean, just crazy to like be there as he's like hugging his dad for the first time after 10 years in prison. I should say also that like I wasn't the first one to reach out to him. So there's this great producer named Van Echeverry, and he brought the access to Owen to this company I've worked with a bunch called Unrealistic Ideas.
Great company.
So they did McMillions, which I worked on, Spy High, which was the last project I was talking to you about. And so, yeah, they're amazing. It's Mark Wahlberg's unscripted company. And they brought it to me. And what's crazy about that is they knew I went to USC, but I actually went to USC the exact years that Owen went to USC. And we were not running in the same circles, if you can believe that.
Exactly.
So we didn't run into each other there. But we had a very similar, like, shared experience. So first of all, the football team was doing amazing. So we were like going to these games with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, and they're winning national championships. But also, just like the world of USC, there is just a lot of money at USC. You know, Owen was in a fraternity. I was not, but I knew about that world. And like, there's just so much wealth sort of just flowing around. And he is from Redondo Beach, but he's like, you know, son of a construction worker and a librarian. So very middle class. But he's always been like next to extreme wealth.
Right.
And so he gets into school and he immediately is kind of like, how do I keep up? How do I, like, you know, sort of survive socially, right? And his one connection is that he's this volleyball star from Redondo Beach. And then immediately the volleyball coach is like, hey, we got these two like Brazilian Olympians coming into the team. Like, you're actually redshirted. Essentially, if you're redshirted your sophomore year, you're pretty much not making the team anymore. And he was like, oh shoot, like my one thing that made me feel like I belonged. So his solution was he had some connections back home who were like, you know, you could just get really huge if you got some steroids. And he went to Tijuana to a veterinarian office in Tijuana, got some steroids, and smuggled the steroids back in his butt crack.
That is a crazy story too. I'm sweating at it as he's telling the story.
Right? Yeah. And I do think, he talks about like getting across the border successfully that first time and just like the rush.
Mm,
And I do think with somebody like this, like he was always chasing a rush.
probably.
He talks about it over and over again. So he ended up taking a bunch of steroids, had never played football, but got really huge and got noticed by the football strength and conditioning coaches. And he ends up trying out and walking onto the championship USC football team.
Which is insane.
Which is crazy. Like almost just, unheard of. But he was bench pressing more than like pro football players would. So, but I will say, like, he talks about, crossing the border, coming through the tunnel with the USC football team in the Coliseum for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these moments that gave him a rush. He was a big gambler where he was like a sports bookie, but also, betting himself, 20 grand a hole at golf, that kind of thing. And again, I think he was chasing a high.
Yeah.
And it certainly came back to bite him because when you chase a high, the next high has to be bigger and more dangerous. And that certainly happened. He eventually, in his criminal pursuits, he started taking bets from somebody who was part of a Mexican cartel and ended up working with them to launder drug money back from Australia. And that's sort of where our story like really blossoms into just like total craziness.
It's your man, Nick Cannon, and I'm here to bring you my new podcast, Nick Cannon at Night. I've heard y'all been needing some advice in the love department. So who better to help than yours truly? Nah, I'm serious. Every week, I'm bringing out some of my celebrity friends and the best experts in the business to answer your most intimate relationship questions. Having problems with your man? We got you. Catching feelings for your sneaky link? Let's make sure it's the real deal first. Ready to bring toys into the bedroom? Let's talk about it. Consider this a non-judgment zone to ask your questions when it comes to sex and modern dating in relationships, friendships, situationships, and everything in between. It's gonna be sexy, freaky, messy, and you know what? You'll just have to watch the show. So don't be shy. Join the conversation and head over to YouTube to watch Nick Cannon at Night or subscribe on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcast. Want to watch episodes early and ad-free? Join Wondery Plus right now.
Hi, I'm Denise Chan, host of Scam Factory. You might remember hearing about our investigative series that exposed what's really happening behind those suspicious texts you get. Inside heavily guarded compounds across Asia, thousands are trapped and forced to scam others or risk torture. One of our most powerful stories was Jella's, a young woman who thought she'd found her dream job, only to end up imprisoned in a scam compound. Her escape story caught the attention of Criminal's Phoebe Judge, and I'm honored to share more details of Jella's journey with their audience. But Jella's story is just one piece of this investigation. In Scam Factory, we reveal how a billion-dollar criminal empire turns job seekers into prisoners, and how the only way out is to scam your way out. Ready to uncover the full story? Binge all episodes of Scam Factory now. Listen to Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts.
So the entire time I'm watching this, I'm wondering, I can't believe this guy's still alive.
Yeah.
Did you have any trepidation covering this? Because, who do you interview? How do you back up some of this stuff? How do you know that he's telling you the truth about everything?
Yeah.
This is like a high intense situation with people who clearly blur the line of legality.
Yeah. So I will say it helped that the FBI and Australian authorities had fully investigated and brought down this ring. And so they had so much documentation to back up sort of what he was saying. Because I agree, I wouldn't believe it otherwise. But they had all this evidence because they were trailing him and infiltrated his ring with undercovers, right?
Yeah.
But knowing that sort of like a bunch of these people had been brought down, but the cartel he was working with was not part of this bust. Essentially, and we had enough evidence to know that he was telling the truth about his involvement with the cartel, and the FBI can back all that up. But that like the drama of the story was not like go unmask a Sinaloa cartel lieutenant, right?
Yeah.
I think for his safety, for our own safety, that's part of it. But also like that's not what makes the story crazy. The fact that this guy from Redondo Beach worked with them and also lost over one weekend $3.5 million of cartel drug money. That's what makes it crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was kind of like knowing our lane to a certain extent. And also like you can interview people about their crimes when they've sort of already paid the price, right?
Yes. True.
And at this point, it's actually kind of cathartic for them
Mm-hmm.
to finally tell their story. Because in court, you do a plea deal, your lawyer's telling you not to testify. It's not the telling of your story in any meaningful way. But in a documentary, you actually do get to tell your story and sort of give your side of it for the first time. And people were really open about it. People were even like proud of their crimes, which I think is really pretty strange. And so we were balancing the like, this was like at times, like when people were getting away with their crimes, they were enjoying it at times.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the time Owen was incredibly stressed out. But you also have to then show like some of the actual, like some of the bad things that happen as a result of stuff like this, like, drug trafficking, like international drug trafficking brings with it a ton of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people, there's even somebody that was one of his co-conspirators who took his own life as a result of this. So there were real consequences. And like you said, it's like a miracle that Owen is still alive.
Do you think he worries about his life at all now? Like, do you think he's fine?
I don't. I will say, I think that so without giving too much away, like he was able to reduce his sentence. He ended up testifying against a lawyer who had been part of a sort of money laundering scheme with him in Australia. And he testified against him, but I think at multiple times he's sort of gotten the okay
Mm-hmm.
from people. I mean, if you're in a US prison, like the cartels are present there. And I think he has found a way to like, show them that he's not going to take down somebody who's not already incarcerated. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but like, I think he's still okay by the cartel. But look, being this public about it, I have no idea,
I'm just saying his girlfriends in the future need to like look the other way. Like, can you imagine your daughter brings this guy home? I don't know. It might go south.
It's so interesting because we talked to one of his girlfriends really late in the game. I think she had her last conversation with him was the night before he got arrested.
Oh.
And they were kind of like, she was essentially like ready to let him go.
Oh.
But she talked about that. He was like, we should have kids together, all this
Dear
stuff.
God.
Yeah. And she was like, this thing that she's torn because I think she knew, well, here's a really driven person who like could be a good person. He could settle down. He's like, he has good qualities, but like she says, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Like when he's like paying for my beauty school in cash, like there has to be something, and I think to her, he essentially said like, the less you know, the better. And she was like, all right, I have to find a way out of this.
Can you imagine explaining to your husband, the ex that you had? I mean, what a nightmare. Now, the other thing that is tripping me up, so he has a protein-based ice cream bar business. And he said he came up with the recipe with a mop in jail. And I can't stop thinking about that. What? Like the other end of the mop, he's mixing it in a bucket? Like what?
What's so insane about this is we literally have footage that he must have filmed on like a smuggled cell phone. We have footage of him creating this recipe in prison because he's like a guy who cannot sit still and he's just always wants to hustle.
Right.
So he was using like commissary protein powder and like bananas and chocolate or something, making ice cream that he himself was mixing. And then he would freeze it. So he'd sort of do like a DIY ice cream machine and freeze it in a bucket of ice. So that's where the mop bucket comes in.
Dear God.
I don't think it's used in the mop bucket.
I was like, this is revolting. This is concerning.
Yes.
Wow.
But we have the footage of him like literally reaching in the mop bucket with like the 2 pints and being like, I should have been doing this instead of selling drugs because I'm selling it at a 7 times markup.
There are people you meet in life and you're like, wait, what? Yeah. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? And that is one of these people where it's just like, the fact he is from Redondo Beach and to your point, I mean, Redondo is a very nice place, but there is a part of it which is very working class. Yes. And then he's like a volleyball star, and then he's on the football team during the Reggie Bush years, and then he's driving these luxury cars, and he's got women around, and you're just like, what? And I'm so glad that you interviewed his father, because the father is sort of like us. He's the every person going, I don't even know how this happened myself.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is something to his mom, his relationship with her that is like underlying there that has a big part of kind of the decisions that he's made?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think the mother and father's relationship was really torn. Mm-hmm. I know that there was alcohol abuse with the father. In his book, Owen wrote a book as well. He talks about substance abuse with his father. Absolutely, I see why they split. But they made this decision, so Owen was slightly older than his sister, that they would each take one child.
Which is so messed up. Oh my God, it's so messed up.
And his dad talks about like, that's the biggest mistake.
Worst.
Ever made. I think, Owen was in sports and he was like, oh, he needs his father kind of thing. But I think that really hurt Owen. And look, you can come up with a lot of excuses for the decisions you made. But I will say like a driving force throughout Owen's life is like finding family, like belonging. And so at every turn, he wants to find a way to fit in and be valued to people. And he becomes like the shady friend who can get you anything. Like if you're having a party weekend, it's like, bring Owen along.
Yeah.
He will bring the party favors. Like somebody says in the doc, like, yeah, you want 3 pounds of frankincense? Like, Owen's got a guy.
Yeah.
And he just was. And it's like, well, our Amazon exec, this guy, Noah Mullally, who's amazing. He was like, yeah, I kind of think of Owen as like that, shady friend in college who could like get anything you wanted, but he just never stopped. Like that guy, for most of us, like eventually has kids, settles down and like is a real estate agent or something.
Yeah.
But like Owen never stopped. And he just kept, taking steps into more and more illegal stuff until he was just way over his head.
On Boxing Day 2018, 20-year-old Joy Morgan was last seen at her church, Israel United in Christ, or IUIC.
I just went on my Snapchat and I just see her face plastered everywhere.
This is The Missing Sister, the true story of a woman betrayed by those she trusted most.
IUIC is my family and like the best family that I've ever had.
But IUIC isn't like most churches.
This is a devilish cult.
You know when you get that feeling where you just, I don't want to be here. I want to get out. It's like that feeling of, like, I want to go home now.
I'm Charlie Brinkhurst-Cuff, and after years of investigating Joy's case, I need to know what really happened to Joy. Binge all episodes of The Missing Sister exclusively and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus. Start your free trial of Wondery Plus on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or in the Wondery app.
In November 1974, IRA bombs ripped through 2 Birmingham pubs, killing 21 innocent people. Hundreds more were injured. It was the worst attack on British soil since the Second World War.
When a crime this appalling and shocking happens, you want the police to act quickly. And boy, did they. The very next day, they had 6 men in custody. Confessions followed, and the men were sent down for life.
Good riddance, you might think, except those men were innocent. Join me, Matt Ford.
And me, Alice Levine.
For the latest series of British Scandal, all about the Birmingham Six.
It's the story of how a terrible tragedy morphed into a travesty of justice, and how one man couldn't rest until he'd exposed the truth.
Follow British Scandal now wherever you listen to podcasts, and binge entire series early and ad-free on Wondery Plus.
When you talk to him now, does he see himself slowing down, or is it always just like, does he have the cars running in the garage, like he's ready to go?
I will say this. I think it's a huge deal that he is sober now.
Yeah.
So he got sober in prison. When he was out and at the height of this, using a ton of drugs of all sorts, you know, he was like, yeah, I was taking, I'd be betting 20 grand a hole on golf while taking encrypted messages from the cartel. And he's like, I'm taking a Vicodin so I can make the putt. I'm taking a Xanax to ease the, nerves. I'm drinking a ton, snorting coke. So he was way over the top with drugs. And being sober now, I think, is the biggest thing. But he has ADHD and cannot sit still. And so it's about putting that case. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's about putting that energy to something positive.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I worry about with him is if you spend that much time living essentially multiple secret lives, he was a total chameleon and he was a different person to each sort of social circle in his life. How do you turn that off? Right. Mm-hmm. And just be like, I'm going to be truthful all the time because lying is going to get me in trouble. I have no doubt he's going to hustle his way into business success. Like the ice cream thing,
yeah.
He hit the ground running with that stuff. And the real question is what it will take for him to build a stable life is being honest with himself, being honest with other people,
mm-hmm. Again, I think that the girlfriend or the wife is I don't know. Can I get in the car and take the kids to the mall? Or am I going to come back and you're gone or you're dealing some crazy stuff? What a story. I mean, truly bonkers. What's the one thing that's going to stay with you about it?
There is, part of the reason why Owen lost $3.5 million of the cartel's money, or $3.2 million of the cartel's money, I should say, in one weekend, is this guy Robin Hood 702, who is a gambling whale, and they sort of got mixed up together in this scheme, and they each have a different version of what it was like. Or who is telling the truth, right? And he was such a unique character. Just one of the most interesting interviews ever. And I've never met someone who is so cocky.
Yeah.
But honestly, that makes for a really interesting documentary interview. And it was to the unstoppable force, the immovable object, when these two sort of faced off over this debt. And so, that that, and then just really the characters will always stay with me. The PI that that Owen hires to track down the Robin Hood guy, this guy Dano Hanks. He's kind of like a legend in underground PI circles in LA, and he is just so unique. And like even just like I'm so glad we shot in his apartment, because like walking into his apartment, you're like, oh my god. Just like the walls plastered with everything he's ever done.
And then it becomes like another part, like it's almost like its own character.
Yeah. So that, like, those characters will never sort of leave me. And I think you need to find those people. Like, you know, you get into making these shows and you're like aware of like, oh, the story is complicated and fascinating and thrilling and absurd. But like finding the person who
illustrates that
and like spending time with them and really getting to know Dano a little bit.
Yeah.
Is just, it takes it to this next level. One of the things we shot and like was in the cut and we just couldn't get the rights to is Dano karaoke singing Desperado.
Oh my God, perfect.
A karaoke legend.
He's a karaoke legend?
Yes.
Where does he go? I'll sync up with him.
He goes to, there's a place in the Valley called Residuals.
Oh, I know Residuals.
Yeah. If you bring the story goes, if you bring a residual check that's, I think, less than $1, which is kind of like a running joke that people get these like terrible residual checks in Hollywood. And if you bring that, you get like a free beer. And we shot at Residuals.
Oh my God.
Him singing Desperado, and we just could not get the rights to Desperado.
Oh, to Desperado.
Really hard. It's like something they will almost never do. But it was like him just like belting it out. Just giving it his all, like the most emotional performance, while him and all the other co-conspirators are like getting cups on them. And I was like, this is the best.
Oh my
God. Unfortunately, you have to kill your babies in this business. So
where does Owen live now? Does he still live in the South Bay?
He is. I'm not sure where he's living. I think he might be with his uncle. I'm not positive.
Well, I'm just thinking, you know, Matt Leinart lives in the South Bay. And like, if these two run into each other at the Ralphs, like, what's that like?
No, here's the thing. Matt Leinart, like, he came to the premiere screening. He had Owen on his podcast. Like, he's like, yeah, I didn't know about it. Let's be very clear. I didn't know this was going on, but like, this was my boy back in the day.
Well, there is a culture in college football. It's like, that very much like, you're my boy, like forever. And there's so many great characters in like college football and NFL who may not always be the shining star of the team, but could certainly like have their own reality show if possible.
Yeah. Right, because you have the stars of the team on the field, and then you kind of have the stars off
in
the
the
field.
locker room who are like telling jokes. They've got a weird family. They're running side businesses.
Yes, and that was Owen. And one of the best interviews in our doc is this guy Lendale White, who was kind of Reggie Bush was lightning, Lendale White was thunder. He was like the short yardage back. And what's great is I interviewed him in the 90 bar, which is like this like legendary dive bar, like right off of campus, across the street from campus. And he was just like, I'm just going to tell it like it is. I don't give a crap. Like,
well, the beauty of aging too is like you care less and less and less.
Yes, about what people think. And the truth is, all that stuff, there's a ton of controversy over, you know, payments, and Reggie Bush had the Heisman taken away.
Yeah.
And now all of that...
It's irrelevant. Nobody cares.
Yeah. It's this new hindsight on it.
The NIL, no one cares.
Yes, because now everyone's making tons of money. And it's like, maybe we shouldn't have given those kids such a hard time.
Don't you feel bad for Reggie Bush? I do.
Yeah. And, you know, now he has the Heisman back, and the university's totally embraced him. And it's kind of like, you know... it was crazy back then, but the university was making tons of money off it. Like, I
feel like this is a future project for you. You need to circle back and do something with Reggie Bush.
Yeah, Reggie was like, because Owen went to Reggie's wedding, which was like maybe a year before his arrest. Reggie declined to be interviewed, which I understand. But no, that whole thing, dating Kim Kardashian, you know, Matt Leinart was dating Paris Hilton at the time. It's just, they were living a crazy life. And I think partly because there was no pro teams in the NFL. Like those guys were full-fledged celebrities while in college.
And by the way, still are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Matt Leinart is still a big deal.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, this one's so good. I don't know how you're going to top this one. I know you're working on other stuff.
Yes.
What can you tell us about what to look forward to, where we can follow you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm on all the socials, Jody MCVS on most places for McVeigh Schultz. My website is jodyms.com, which just sort of has everything that I've been working on. I am pitching a bunch of stuff. And I will say the beauty of what I've done is like, it's been a lot of different types of things. But everything that I pitch like has to have a little bit of absurdity in it. So,
the best. My favorite.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm pitching some like true con type stuff.
My favorite.
Set in the Deep South. Like love that, just like really over the top characters. And some straight true crime that just has like just the craziest storylines you can think of. And yeah, just like really, I think the business has contracted a little bit, but I've been lucky enough to like work with some really great people who are still making stuff. So there is still stuff being bought and made. And at this point, just like looking for the right network for some of these larger than life projects that I'm developing.
Well, this one was outstanding. Always love chatting with you and really good job.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my fantastic guest, Jody McVeigh Schultz, and remind you to make sure that you click subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review. Join the Facebook group, Reality Life with Kate Casey. Bonus episodes on Apple Podcast and Patreon. You can get my What to Watch list every week by going to katecasey.substack.com. And you want to do so you don't miss out on any of these great reality shows or documentaries or series. And then make sure you follow me on social media. My Instagram is @KCCA, TikTok, it's KCasey, and Twitter Threads and Blue Sky @KCasey. Check back tomorrow for an all-new episode.